Hey, this is John Fernay, the co-host of the Maryland Crabs, and I am here today with a Maryland Crabcake for your listening pleasure. What's a crabcake? It's not quite a full episode, it's just a little snippet. Stay tuned and check it out. And make sure you check us out on themarylandcrabs.com. You can follow us on Twitter at MD Crabs Podcast, or find us on Facebook at the Maryland Crabs Podcast. And don't forget, subscribe, rate us, iTunes. Go there now. All right, we're up here at 110 Compromise Street, which seems very weird to say because it's been like a non-thing for decades, it seems.
The old Fawcett's building.
It is, but we have the old Fawcett's building. And this will never be called anything but the Fawcett's building, I don't think, to anybody in town that's been around for a while. But we're up here in the boat show office, and we're talking with Tara Flanagan, who is the dean of the university here. And I bet you didn't know. I bet you only thought there were only 2 universities in town, but no, there's a third one, and it's called Cruisers University, which is this an invention of the boat show?
It is. It's one of Paul Jacobs, who's the president of the boat show. It was one of his dreams when he took his family cruising. So Paul took his family out in the 1990s and wished that he had a place to go to answer all his questions about cruising. You know, places to go, how to fix your boat when you're on the water and things like this. So Paul Jacobs in 2011 put this dream into action. And the first Cruisers University was in Baltimore in 2011. And it's what he wanted answered when he was getting ready to go cruising with his family. And it's really progressed since then. So originally it was once a year, and now we have 2 sessions a year, spring and fall. We're getting ready to launch the spring session in April. So it kind of runs over the Annapolis Spring Sailboat Show.
Right, the Annapolis Spring Sailboat Show, that's the 26th, 7th, and 8th.
And we start our Cruisers University a day ahead. So we start the 25th and we go through the 28th. So we're 4 days long, and it is jam-packed this year. It's pretty amazing what we've got going.
Well, what is it? I mean, okay, you said he wants to know everything about cruising. I mean, I would think that, buying a sailboat, you would be told everything you needed to know about sailing. Isn't that part of the deal when you buy it?
Yes and no. So we have a lot of people that are reaching pre-retirement age that all of a sudden start getting that itch.
Well, that was a politically correct term.
Yeah. They're starting to get that itch. Like, let's do a Kenny Chesney thing and go live on an island, and how are we going to make this work? So, of course, we're going to have a boat. Well, a lot of them may have only sailed a small 20-foot boat in their local yacht club, but have never lived aboard. And that's a whole different aspect. So you say, when they go buy a sailboat, they're going to know what they're doing. Trust me, they don't. We have a lot of newbie cruisers that really don't have any concept. They don't even know how to put their food in storage so it can handle the Caribbean sun. So we have a lot of different options out there, and I'm going to honestly say it's not just sailboats, it's also power boaters. So we do attract a lot of trawler people. So no, we're offering an educational program that teaches you the right things to do so that you're not, a fish out of water in the water.
So is this purely for liveaboards or people that are going to be spending long time, or are there aspects of the curriculum that are for the day sailors or the weekend guys?
Yep. We literally could be for anyone that's in the boating world. So one of our most popular classes is diesel maintenance. We offer a 2-day diesel maintenance course with Jim Zima from Ohio, which basically starts to how do you tell your diesel engine is sounding weird, to changing the oil and what you do for maintenance and how you actually get hands-on to fix your diesel engine. Well, that's good for anyone. You could be at the Annapolis Yacht Center and need to have your diesel engine worked on. And why not get your hands on? Know what you're doing with your own boat. Mm-hmm. Why should you pay a vendor to do the work for you when you could actually do some pretty simple things yourself? So you're right. When you say, could it be for anyone? Absolutely. Do we tend to have more students that are planning on going cruising or planning on living their boats? Yes, we do have a majority of those.
Sure. Well, I imagine it's probably like buying a car. I mean, I can always take it to the the gas station to get my oil changed, or I can figure out how to do it myself when it starts to ping or knock a little bit, and a little bit more inconvenient for me at that time. So, but it depends on what the stage you are in your life, whether you want to get your fingers dirty and whatnot there as well. So, what all do we cover? I mean, you mentioned about food, and again, I sort of went off in my mind. I'm like going, that's something I never thought about. How to store food in the Caribbean.
So we have a lot of standard classes. So we have marine weather forecasting. We have cruising women, which cruising women is, it tends to be, and I'm going to put this, please put an asterisk next to this, it tends to be the male dream to go cruising. And the female kind of just absorbs into that dream. But the woman never really knows what it means to go cruising. I didn't 5 years ago. I had not a clue. So we have a cruising women masterclass, which helps the woman understand what her role will be on the boat. What it means to try to figure out how to wait in line for laundry. What's the laundry room etiquette? How long do you let that laundry sit in the dryer? What do you bring for your first sundowners cocktail hour? You know, how do you do potlucks for Christmas in a foreign port? So that's the cruising women's class. It covers everything. Our instructors are fabulous. They are cruisers. They are out there living what we're teaching. So then we have the diesel we talked about, but we have a lot of similar things. We have something called tool time. Tool time is, you know, what do you need to have for tools on your boat to fix your own boat in the Bahamas when there's no one there to fix it for you. You know, so we do that. We have a great session this spring with Nigel Calder, who is like the guru for diesel and electric. He's doing an all-day class on electrical systems. So how do you worry about solar input or wind generators, and how do you make sure everything's a smart boat on your boat? You know, how is it wired correctly to utilize what you can from the sun, generators, and wind? So that's a really very popular class this spring, is with Nigel Calder. He is just bringing, you know, so many people into his class right now.
Right. Well, you said it started in 2011, and we're now 2019, so we're 8 years into this thing.
Yeah.
And the speed of technology goes incredibly fast. I think by the time we get done here, they'll have invented some new iPhone or something like that. But I mean, has technology really changed over those 8 years that you've been involved with this to make it either easier, more difficult, or just more complex, or?
Okay, all of the above. So let me just give you an example from when I started cruising 5 years ago. When we went to the Bahamas, there was this whole thing. You had to get an unlocked phone in the Bahamas, and you had to buy a plan, and you could only text maybe once because you'd use your entire digital plan.
Right.
Now there's a lot of sat phones, satellite phones, and tracking mechanisms that people are doing offshore where they still can text without an issue-based satellite technology back home, so people don't have to worry when they're 20 days into the ocean. There's simple smart technology now that's making a boat set up so that maybe you can't retire. Maybe you still have to work on your boat. So we have smart boats now that are actually wired to talk with chart plotter, your weather forecasting, but it also allows you to basically work from your boat. We have a lot of people that are continuing to work remotely on their boat while they're sitting at anchor in beautiful blue waters. You know, so yes, in the 5 years since I've started, the amount of technology changes is just incredible.
Now, how does the Cruisers University work? You said, I knocked the sign that said private, dock on the desk. But you said it's a 4-day program. It starts the Thursday before the boat show and goes through Sunday. And is this something where you take the 4-day classes, or are there individual classes that you can take, or how does?
Okay, so we have 1 to 4 day packages. So the most popular is usually people sign up for a 4-day package, and it is all-encompassing. So you can choose master classes. So a master class is 2-day intensive class, and then you get to choose 2 days of electives. So, you know, and we kind of rate the classes on a kind of a college-based scale. So a 100 class is for the newbies, don't have a clue, but come on in. 200 is, you kind of know what you're doing, but you're like, yeah, maybe I need a refresher. And then we have the advanced class, a 300 level class, where you're going to go and you're going to leave our class and you're going to go put your wind generator on tomorrow. We have a lot of 1-day packages. So I have this really fun program this spring. It's sponsored by Sailrite, who is the company that everyone goes to for sewing machines on their boat, all the canvas work. So Sailrite's coming, and they're going to teach 25 students how to sew on their boat. And at the end of the day, it's an all-day class. At the end of the day, each one of my students is going to go home with a specialized boat tote that they have sewn during our classes.
Which is effectively sail repair while underway.
Exactly. So, you know, everyone's going to know how to double layer and how to put fasteners in and things like that. So this is one of those situations where it is a hands-on class. they are going to literally be taught from start to finish, including sewing, a completed project, which gives them confidence. So when they're sitting in their cockpit and their mainsail rips, they can take the mainsail down, sew it as a repair, and be ready to cruise again.
Now, is this? Are they going to have time to go to the boat show?
Absolutely. So Thursday they'll have the opportunity to go to the boat show. Our classes end at 4:00. So they still have 2 hours to go to the boat show. And a lot of people sneak out at their lunchtime because we're being held at the Historic Inns, which is just a short walk down from State Circle. So they have the opportunity to go to the boat shows. They also have the opportunity to go to the power boat shows as well. So,
right, over the Bay Bridge Boat Show, over the 12th and 14th, I think it is.
12th to the 14th, yes.
Over on the Kent Island, on the Bay Bridge Marina, I think is the name, right there by Hemingway's.
Yes.
That's for us power boaters.
Yes. I mean, they're very, one of these days, all sailors will probably be power boaters too. We start sailing, we retire to a trawler, and when the trawler life is too much, most likely they go to an RV. So.
One with wheels instead of that. What's your average student here? I mean, is it young, old, in between, male, female, or not anything?
It's literally, John, across the board. We've had young students that were in their 20s that had this dream that they wanted, before they started a family, they wanted to go cruise, and they're learning their need. Then we have like I said, the pre-retirement age, probably in their 50s, starting to plan what they're going to do when they retire. But then we also have 70 and 80-year-old people that just want to build up their learning experience again so they can take off cruising. We have one couple that has been with us many times, so we call them alumni, that come and they take a 2 or 3 day refresher course, and their hope is to be able to go cruising in a year or two. So they don't want to lose what they've learned, so they come back every session and learn a little bit more.
That's fantastic. Do you have a graduation ceremony and caps and gowns and all that?
No. So basically, one of the premise that I want to talk about for Cruisers University is Cruisers University also teaches you how to be a cruiser. Meaning, it's not all about knowledge, but how do you socialize? How do you come into an anchorage on Friday morning and have new best friends that you can have cocktails and dinner with at Friday night when you know no one? So one of our aspects is we always have social events after every day's class. And the first day, everyone's like wallflowers. They're all out in the corners and no one's chatting with each other. So we make it a fun kind of meet and greet. And by the last evening, everyone's crying and hugging and, they're best friends.
Can't believe it's over.
Right. It's like, what are we going to do? Where are we going to meet you? Things like that. So one of our aspects, it's not just teaching them things. It's how do you socialize? Because that is cruising.
What's your biggest tip?
My biggest tip is fake it till you make it. So I am somewhat of an introvert. I know it's hard to believe, but I'm somewhat of an introvert. But when my first year cruising, I didn't want to go knock on someone's hull and say, "Hi, I'm Tara. How about if we have drinks tonight?" So I'm like, all right, just do it. So I always tell people, just do it. What's the worst going to happen? They're going to say no.
That's true, and you're going to be gone soon
right.
enough.
It's like if you don't like the person you're anchored next to, pick it up and find another anchorage. But it's literally, you just have to put yourself out there until you get a comfort level.
And I would say that boaters tend to be some of the most friendly people out there for the most part.
Yes.
And it's just sort of the way of the sea, if you will. And I mean, if you're in distress, there's going to be somebody there that's going to help you.
Absolutely. You always have a buddy boat.
Obviously it could take a little bit longer for the buddy boat to get to you, but it's depending on what the situation and where you are. But it is a very friendly community that's here. I mean, you can see that in the fall boat shows and certainly the spring boat shows when everybody descends upon Annapolis for a few days.
Right.
And it's just a very, very good event. So that's your biggest tip on surviving boating is put yourself out there and socially.
I think so. Socially, I think you have to put yourself out there to just. I jokingly call it putting my big girl pants on. It's my husband's dream to cruise, and I married into the dream. So there were a lot of times where it was out of my comfort level, but when I finally went out in the higher wind situations or in some sort of situation I didn't feel good about and did it, I'm like, all right. It's not so bad. So cruising is not for the faint of heart. You really do have to put yourself out there and give it a try.
Now I got a question. You said you started cruising 5 years ago.
I did.
I would think the dean of a university about cruising would be a lifelong cruiser. And how did that all come about?
Oh, it's actually fun to say this. So my background is veterinary medicine. I own an animal hospital up in Massachusetts, and I married into the cruising dream. So my husband and I chartered boats and things like that, and we were sitting on anchor in Block Island when I saw on Facebook the Annapolis Boat Shows looking for temporary workers for the fall show. And I said, wouldn't that be fun? So my husband and I came back here the fall of 2014 to work a temporary job. And it just so happened that the person I replaced, Nancy Grisham, was retiring, and they're like, wouldn't this be a perfect fit? And I'm going, this is really funny. I'm a newbie cruiser, and all of a sudden they think I'm able to take care of it. But what's fun is I do make a lot of contacts. I do like to be social, like I said, and I know what the newbie cruiser needs to know. So I have that.
That's true. It's somewhat current knowledge as opposed to somebody that's in 43. It was done this
right, and that's what's really important. It's like, so I'm still out there. I'm still on my boat. I'm still fixing my boat. My husband and I are still planning. Next winter we're going back down to the Bahamas, and I need to stay on top of it, of the new technology too, and things like that. So if you're a good manager, you're going to be a good manager in anything you go to, but you just have to really.
Well, just one thing you say you talked about, it's your husband's dream and whatnot there. And you're cruising, you're talking about cruising to the Bahamas, so we're out at sea quite a bit there. I mean, does the Cruisers University jump into like emergency situations and stuff like that? I mean, what if, God forbid, your husband fell ill on board or something like that, and now as opposed to just buying into the dream and sitting on the front deck catching a tan, now all of a sudden it gets a little bit real for you.
Absolutely. So Cruising Women, I don't want to keep going that women's the only one, but Cruising Women does teach you the basics. How do you use your VHF radio if there's an emergency?
Right.
A lot of people don't even know how to, determine your GPS location. So that, we do teach basics, but we want the women to go into the other classes, or even maybe men. Maybe it is a woman's dream and the man's married into it. We have safety at sea classes, which basically tells you, okay, what do you do in heavy wind situations, or you get knocked down and things like that. We have a class called Offshore Cruising When Things Go Wrong. Specifically, how do you fix something when it goes wrong? So we are trying to teach everyone a little bit of everything. What I will tell everyone who's listening to this, 4 days in Cruisers University does not make you the perfect cruiser. It gives you the tools to work with to ask where you need to learn next. We hope they want to come back, or we hope they find other educational opportunities. But boy, we give them the best start. And the one thing about Cruisers University that's different than all the other boat shows in the country's programs is we teach, we don't sell. We're here to teach them a skill. We're not here to sell them a product. And I think that keeps us different from everyone else.
Well, it makes sense to do that.
Yeah.
What do you sail?
We actually have an old boat. So we have a 1965 Pearson Invicta yawl. She's one of Bill Tripp's designs, one of the first fiberglass boats designed. In fact, our fiberglass hull is anywhere between 3 and 4 inches thick, because they didn't know how thick to make fiberglass back then. So we have a very sturdy blue water cruising boat.
Is a tank.
She is. She's a fat bottom girl. She's going to survive everything. She'll still be floating. We may not be, but she'll still be floating if something were to happen.
What is the most disastrous thing that a sailboater could face out at sea? Do you know? I mean, you see pictures of boats that have been demasted and whatnot, and I think that's obviously catastrophic. I don't know that that's the worst thing, because you're still floating and you
right. And you can rig things. Demasting is a big issue if you can't get the hanging mast and rigging off your boat, which is going to cause an issue. Certainly, the loss of steering seems to be a big issue that we've been hearing a lot about lately. In fact, one of our sister boats was going into Portugal, and their rudder broke and it came apart and they lost their steering. So that was a little bit of a challenge, and they rigged a way to steer. So that's a big issue, because coming into a port, you can sail, and come up with a plan on, tacking and things like that. But not being able to sail or steer into a inlet, that's a big issue. And really, those are the two, and obviously a major medical issue. If you're far enough out in the ocean, you're not going to get rescued.
Right. You've got days and days before somebody spots you or comes out to get you.
Yeah.
And the technology has allowed you now mid-Atlantic Ocean to be in contact with.
Absolutely. So there's numerous different things. We talked about sat phones. There is also EPIRB. So basically, an EPIRB actually sends off, if it hits the water, sends off a GPS location to satellites. So it actually sends out, we're all registered with NOAA. It sends out a distress location so that they can actually figure out where you are.
So it's a beacon that they can sit there and say, okay, we'll send a helicopter or a boat or whatever it may be.
Right. And a lot of boats have a boat-wide one, and my husband and I have a boat-wide one, but we also wear a personal one on our life vest. So if one of us goes over...
Activated by water,
and one of us is asleep during watch, at least someone's going to go off. The location beacon's going to go off for us.
And I will say that I'm so glad that manufacturers have decided to make life vests a lot more bearable than they were in the 70s
Absolutely.
and the 80s with the big old orange.
Yeah, the horseshoe around your head.
Yeah. They still have them on some of the tourist boats, but they serve a purpose. But I mean, certainly on a sailboat or a powerboat, it makes all the sense in the world to wear something that you're able to move around with and everything else.
And that you're not going to get caught in the rigging with. So.
Right. Well, if you want to join Cruisers University for 1 day or 4 days and take part of the wisdom of Tara Flanagan. I don't know whether it's all your wisdom or a whole team of your...
Definitely a team.
Professors and...
it's my 50 professors. Without them, I'm not sure how we would end up making it work so well.
You can get all that information at AnnapolisBoatShows.com, and you can register right there on there. You can also purchase tickets to the boat show, either the Bay Bridge Boat Show over on the Eastern Shore or the Annapolis Spring Sailboat Show here in Annapolis, which is April 26th through the 28th.
The one thing I add is, if you become a member of Cruisers University, you get complimentary boat show tickets. Don't buy. If you choose to sign up for Cruisers University, we're going to give you tickets to get into the shows.
Fantastic. And you said this is held up at the Calvert House up on State Circle?
It certainly is.
Nice location there. You feed them?
We feed them really fabulous meals. One of the caterer or the chef at the Historic Inns has presented some pretty great menus for us. No one will go hungry. No one will go without a little social fun. Yeah, it's a good time. And all the educational materials that you need, your boat show tickets, your food, your evening events, your transportation, we provide everything.
And at the end of the day, you're going to have some new friends that potentially are lifelong friends and friends in boating.
Absolutely.
Hey, Tara Flanagan, thank you very much. Check it out, AnnapolisBoatShows.com. We'll see you down here April 26th to the 28th, but if you're in Cruisers University, we'll see you here on the 25th.
Sounds good.
This has been the Maryland Crabs podcast with Tim Hamilton and John Fernay. Sure to follow them in all the regular places, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and online at themarylandcrabs.com. Take a moment to rate us on iTunes. Now, get the hell out of my kitchen. Seriously, go!
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.